It is with the intent to offer users of Why We Protest anonymously the opportunity to observe precisely what awaits the public if they venture into the net space known as the Thunderdome, which still to this very day is operating on that site. Some of the evidence is from a USENET news group, and reflects the spillage and crossover of what can only be described in our opinion as the sheer lunacy of this web space. Others are exemplar how the Thunderdome operates in what can only be described as near paranoid denial and invective directed at us through one of our many identities, which is what Anonymous is routinely, to create multiple fictitious identities, to create fraudulent representations in public places usually involving some sort of Scientology-related media. They do it with what are called proxies, and it can no longer be denied that their skills on the internet are ferociously adapted to kill lesser life forms. Remind you of any other group you know, they do so with proxies, in order to limit risks of criminal prosecution for fraud and many other potential major felonies. They are an institution established to draw literal order into chaos with terrorism. It does not matter whether it be a Scientologist or a 10-year-old child. They will savage each equally with no regard for morality. We will be addressing this issue publicly and informatively as a public service to the world. These clowns in their negligence managed to spark a stress-induced opportunistic infection in one of our members who has been following this issue closer than any of us. She has AIDS, which they of course find amusing. She was briefly hospitalized, and then returned home for an extended recovery. This is just one of many ways that the politics of terrorism are applied on the internet by this group of so-called advocates for the right to speak freely, social justice, and people who publicly represent themselves now still as remaining the single most elite, spelled L33T in their jargon. Their continued and irresponsible use of such skills in all reality, and in many cases, are most likely criminal felonies ranging from fraud to reckless endangerment, and even homicide indirectly, for many have died as a result of their criminal activities. We will also keep you apprised on the ongoing challenge to her health and patience with regard to this group, which our public face, Jessica N. Chandler, MSW, states in her professional opinion as a social worker, that this has fundamentally evolved into the regular practice of online terror and directed hate speech for the purposes of inducing terror, and then these hypocrites style their actions as being in defense of constitutional freedoms, and therefore a protected right. There could be nothing further from the truth. One has the right to be offensive, one does not have a God-given right to hate speech, no matter how hard one hypocritically claims to be what they are not. We thank you for your attention to these facts, not rhetoric, and remain your faithful watchdog for more exposure of the con, which is www.whyweprotest.net. We are not alone anymore in this battle. Ex-Scientologists similarly driven beyond all rhyme or reason for no purpose by these people, among others, have allied with a call for social justice Chicago style on these harmful and hateful bastards, not the original Anonymous, which is composed of B-dot spelled /B/DRD and others who apparently have chosen to join us in our fight. We are not anonymous. We are the general public who wish to use the internet in safety and without harassment. We are opposed to the ideals which have been operationalized into an indefensible sort of hate speech which they falsely claim a right to. We will tolerate this no longer, and invite all citizens of America, and indeed the world, in our call to settle these matters in an effective way before there are more deaths as a result of this intentionally inflicted attempt to destabilize at-risk persons. They have already killed by driving ordinary youth to suicide. They are to be condemned for their intentionally malicious acts. We are the general public, and we have arrived.